Hello there. It's Saturday. It feels like a Sunday, but it's a Saturday, and I should be uploading on Thursday or Friday. Oh well. So today I'm going to take stock of where we are with art and craft selling, and I'm going to look at it in the context of the shifts in our attitudes towards the economy. So I'm going to look at it globally, nationally, and locally. So where do you think you fit in all of this art and craft selling game now? So if you would like to subscribe to my channel, that would be amazing, and then hit the bell, because by hitting the bell you will get notifications when I do the next upload. I've had positive comments so far, and I thank you very much. So I'll see you in a minute. Bye. Hi, welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about the shift in attitudes towards buying and selling, and how the virus, how COVID-19 is now actually impacting on us globally, nationally, and locally. And then more specifically, how you are faring in this current climate, and what you think your place is now in this economy, with a very specific context of selling your art and craft. I'm thinking every day, every second of the day, how this virus is impacting on my own thought shifts, my own learning, and looking at what the future holds for us economically. How is the economic future in this country, in your city, even in your town, in your village, in the country, in the globe, how it's all going to eventually pan out? What is actually happening on all the levels? And you as an artist or maker, how do you fit into all of that? It's mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. All of the things that I'm going to talk to you about today is my opinion. It's my opinion from my experience, from my studies. Some of it is fact, some of it is anecdotal, but I want to offer you a perspective, and I hope that you will find it useful. In fact, we're all experts on this, because we're all experiencing this as individuals, and it's playing out very differently for each and every one of us. So for some, it's health issues. For others, it's economic. For others, it's both. For some, it's none. Although I find that very difficult to get my head around. But it is really difficult. But the one thing that draws us all together is that we're all experiencing this. We all have our stories, and that's really powerful. So let's look at this globally. Well, it's a fact that in some countries, GDP is set to go down by about 30%. That makes the 2008 crisis a little blip. You may have seen the graphs. The virus has forced us into a debate about the global economy because of transport, the movement of cargo, the movement of freight. It's not as simple now. So we are now being forced to look at our global economy. So in many ways, it's less to do with politics. It's more about health, but it in my view, it re-energises the debate about what is the nature of our economy and how we can move forward. So there's a big question mark about the dependency on the global economy, in my view, and what that means. Some will be throwing their hands up and going, hurrah! Who needs a global economy? Well, we've always had a global economy. I mean, even, thousands of years ago, we always had a global economy. But it really does put into question a lot of what happens with the global economy and what we depend on and why we buy things and why we don't buy things. And there's a massive question mark above that now. And that's healthy, I think, to have that debate. Let's talk about the national economy. Well, let's talk about migrant workers and immigration. I mean, now I think it's ceasing to be a political question. I mean, Brexit, what the hell's that? I mean, the question of Brexit, it's like, who cares? I mean, that's kind of a distant memory that pales into complete insignificance. So one of the main arguments during the Brexit campaign was immigration. And now we're talking about the movement of people, but for very different reasons. So we're talking about the movement of people for health reasons. So we're talking about closing borders because we're trying to stop the spread of this virus. And so we're looking very differently. Well, that forces the debate about our national economy. Because if we're not getting the migrant workers, then who's going to pick the fruit? Who's going to do the care work? Who's going to do all of the work, as we know, in the National Health Service? So again, it's forcing us to look at, well, who's here? Who's here? What have we got? Who are our people, our multicultural society? What have we got? How can we best deploy it? So I think there's a question, a big question above the national economy. Then there's the local economy. The virus, I think, has made us really think locally and much more about our own communities. So things like food deliveries. Who's producing the food locally and how can they get it to us? Who's producing what we need for our gardens, like plant deliveries? There's kind of now a consciousness, an economic consciousness now, a local economic consciousness. So who have we got around us? How useful are they to us? And it's all again about supply and demand. So we're looking now locally. So for instance, I've just taken today I've used a local company, a small community interest company that's run by actually one of my friends. And she's just delivered the plants to me. And so that's a really good example of that, because normally I'd have gone to Cherry Lane, which is a big national company, and I'd have bought the same old, because I'm like pretty useless in that field. And now I've had my local person who's running a community interest company has come and delivered my plants to me and told me exactly what I need to do. She's messaged me saying that in pot 1, that in pot 2, that in pot 3. So that's just the way locally, and we're all looking locally for joy and community and those little conversations that we have when we're doing our daily run, or we see somebody. I mean, I had a daily walk and I saw an old gentleman today, an elderly gentleman, and I had a little conversation with him about where he's come from, and he was with his mobiliser, I don't know what to call it, but he was getting around on this contraption, and he was having his daily exercise, and We had a lovely little conversation about the weather and the park and all the rest of it, and then we both moved on our way. So yeah, we're looking much more towards our local economy, what people can do and what can they produce and what skills do they have to make our lives enriching. So at this point, I am actually gonna give a shout out to my friend's business. She said she's been flat out for the last 3 weeks doing plant deliveries. She's called Trowel and Error, so that's in the Peterborough area. Trowel and Error. I mean, that's an ingenious name to start with. I mean, how creative is that? There's a lot of trowel on her side and a lot of error on mine. So you're thinking, what has all this got to do with art and craft selling? Well, historically, artisans and makers were respected for what they made, because what they made was both utilitarian and decorative at the same time, or sometimes just completely decorative. But there was a very, it's a very respected trade. It was very utilitarian, and people would quite happily buy things from them on a regular basis on markets, for example, or in their workshops. It's only relatively recently that art and craft has become linked to actual social status and has become even part of what we call the asset economy. So what does that mean? So that art has become part of a high net worth individual's asset portfolio. I mean, can you imagine, right? So we're now talking on the level of mainly the surge with 2D art rather than artisanal craft. So, and then artisanal craft has become merged into that. A piece of craft is now somehow elevated to a work of art. And art has become part of this portfolio of assets. So, you can look back at the 1950s when there was the explosion of basically contemporary art, and it started to fetch a lot of money because the 2D art bubble only really started to kick off in the 20th century, and by the mid 20th century it was just part of wealth, if you like. And that's why people call it the contemporary art bubble, because there's these ridiculous prices for abstract works of art that nobody understands, and it's just like a different language, and things go for hundreds of thousands of pounds, and money's exchanged, and you think, what's all that about? Well, it's about the contemporary art bubble. It's about money, it's about wealth, it's about assets, it's about social status, it's about the trappings of society. That's what it's about. So yes, how do you fit into all of this as an artist, maker or crafter? What's this got to do with you? Well, everything. This is my view, how you can fit into all of this. So what I've just explained is that it's more of an inward looking shift now, a mind shift. It's less how we can exploit the global market, but it's how we can now look at ourselves, what we're doing, and how we can survive economically, and what can we do. So you as an artist and maker, the obvious thing is to say go online, but I'm not going to be so trite as to say that, because yes, you can have your online shop, and I've just had 2 amazing artists and makers come onto my platform called Art in the Heart. One is Day Ceramics, that's Dawn Isaac. She's a lovely, lovely, lovely decorative ceramicist. Really lovely items, sculpture, but also items, little gifts that you can buy that are just so sweet, really lovely. And then we've got an amazing Shetland weaver called Christina Smith, and she works from her dilapidated Crofters Cottage on the Shetland Isles, and she's just come on board with us, and that's really artisanal craft. She uses all the traditional methods right from hundreds of years ago, and she's keeping that alive. So I would say, putting aside going online, all right, because that's an obvious thing to do, I would say firstly that you're part of this move now to bring joy locally, and to think about how you can start bringing joy locally to your local communities. That will engender interest in you and your work, in fact. So how are you going to do that? And it can be about selling. It's not just about, oh look, I'm doing this and I'm doing this altruistically and not for profit and all that. You can actually sell your work and get yourself out there locally and bring joy to people and show people locally what you're doing. Secondly, think about your UK market and where you want to target. So when you're online, think about don't just cast your net willy-nilly. Think about where you want to target in the UK. Thirdly, think about your passion for your art and craft, and think about how much your art and craft is part of your lifestyle. How central is it to your lifestyle? And is it something that you really truly envisage that you can live off, partly live off, and how you're going to do that? Or is it something you're just doing now for therapy, which is fine, but what role is that art production or craft production now in your life, and what do you want to do with it? Do you want to market and sell it? And how are you going to do that? So that's really, really important. But what I want to share with you is the fourth point, and it's my most important point. I'm really passionate about this last point, and basically what it is for you as an artist and maker to think about your role in the community and in a wider sense. So yes, you want to market and sell your work. You want to have your work represented, possibly publicly, but perhaps give more thought to its use. How is your art linked to the concept of use in the community, locally, and more nationally? So then that begs the question, to what extent do you want your work to be exclusive? In what ways do you want to offer your work and products to a wider market? So I've known a lot of artists and makers that are obsessed with getting their work out to people who've got money. Right, now that's all well and good and great if you do, but is that what you want to do? Is that the point of it? So I think all of this virus has made us reassess what we're doing and why we're doing it. So it comes back to one of my points that I've been banging on about for years. And it's this: if you rethink and think, yes, you're going to offer this to a wider market, okay, and I'm calling this a more democratic approach to what you do. So that's why, and I know this sounds a bit contradictory, so on my platform, Art in the Heart, I've started to establish a love and a passion for artists who offer a wide variety of things that people can enjoy. So by the very nature of what they do, they are making their work less exclusive and what some people term as commercial. But by doing that, they're allowing people to access it and getting joy from it. So, for example, I call them Art in the Heart big brands. And the reason I do that is that they have a passion for their audience, but a really wide audience. So there's this refusal to allow themselves to become exclusive, although their work is of the highest quality. Okay, so that's a really important point. So you don't have to keep marketing and selling to people with disposable income and people who've already got, palatial properties and wonderful collections of this, that and the other. You perhaps need to reassess and think, well, actually, I can do that, but I can also do this, because I actually can give joy to people through my work. So that's an interesting shift, and it's something that I've been talking about for a long time. And I suppose, in a way, could we go back to a simpler existence where we all had roles in the community? What are we good at and how can we enable things? So allowing people to enjoy art and craft, whether they can use it or just look at it, is an important part of that. So the virus, for me, is actually me looking at the globe. We're looking at global economies, and we're coming right down to what's happening in the locality and people's roles in the locality, and how people can give joy and yet earn a living at the same time, because it's really, really important to be able to earn a living so you can pay your bills and you can put food on the table. And so it's perhaps reassessing that and reconsidering it. Okay, all of this has just been me, my anecdotes, my views on it. If you do want to register with me on my art and craft platform, we've just sold a beautiful botanical print, and we've been selling during COVID-19. But we've also been celebrating artists. I've been doing a lot of posts on social media about our artists and makers and what they're actually offering and what they're creating during this lockdown. So if you are an artist and maker and you are interested in coming online, I have got another upload that shows our online platform, and I navigate through a dashboard and show you how to upload, how to set up your store and how to upload your products. So come on board with us, and please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell, because like that you will get notifications about my next upload. I hope to see you next week. I can't promise, well, I don't know what day it will be actually, because I keep thinking it's Sunday today and it's not. It's very strange, but we carry on. Bye, see you next week.